The world's economy has been struck pretty hard with the COVID crisis. But remember, the nation's economy and your own personal economy is totally different. If you're listening to this, you're probably a veteran who has big goals. And now more than ever, you need guidance financially on how to actually execute on them. Stay tuned as Lawrence Lagud of First Command and retired Staff Sergeant of the United States Marine Corps dives into the trenches with us on how to create a bulletproof financial plan to accelerate your path to achieving your goals.
There's a way out. There's a way forward. You're not going to, veterans tend to have kind of like really big dreams, big goals, because, we've kind of overcome a lot. So you're not going to get to your big goals without big plans and, doing things. You can't just sit around and it's just going to happen,
Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast. My name is Chris Hoffman. I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran turned social impact leader. Ambitious Vet, today we have another industry leader masterclass / spotlight with First Command's Lawrence Lagud. Ambitious Vet, I'm excited to dive in to a few key topics like his personal story around overcoming financial struggles coming from a conservative family in the Midwest, also how to shift your mindset around money, and then also First Command's difference that they've been making within the service member, veteran, and mil spouse population since the 1950s. If you haven't already, Ambitious Vet, buckle up. It's time to grow and advance in your life.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We're diving right back inside the trenches with another special episode / masterclass to empower you with yet another industry leader, this time in the financial world. We have Lawrence Lagud and also Jason Sura, his district advisor, who's coming in to empower you, Ambitious Vet, to figure out what is the next steps to success in your financial world during disruptive times that we're all dealing with during this time. Lawrence is a retired Staff Sergeant in the Marine of 13 years, turned financial representative for First Command Financial Services. Lawrence, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's awesome to have another crane eater. Hopefully we can break down the financial world Barney style.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just like so critical. There's so much out there people don't understand. And it's really, you can break it down pretty simply for folks.
Yeah, awesome. So we're looking to definitely do that for not only veterans, service members, and also mil spouses in this, man, but just how do we evolve out of this disruptive times, right? So let's go ahead and not waste any time. Let's dive into your experience. I mean, you served for 13 years as a staff sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, correct?
Yes.
Man, what had you go from United States Marine crane eater, MOS, whatever you were doing in there, to the financial world? Walk us through that journey.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was definitely a nerd among the Marines. I was data for a while. I was a Korean linguist, and then I got back into comm security. So, I mean, I was definitely certainly not infantry, definitely super pogue, but that definitely helped, availing myself of our educational opportunities we have in the Marine Corps. And, I got a little push early on when I was really young. I was probably, I think like 20 or so. I was a corporal out in Okinawa, and I was working, like I said, super pogue. I was like a clerk for a master sergeant, and, he was just like, hey, we're going to look at your finances, and it wasn't an option. It was just like, okay, can't tell him no, so we pulled up all my statements and busted out my LES and all that stuff. And, he found out that I had a significant amount saved up, and he was just like, okay, I don't know how to help you with this, but I know someone who does, so I mean, like, rewind before that, I was dirt poor as a kid. I grew up out in the dirt in Missouri, on the other side of the state from you, on the cool side of the state. But, we were playing bill roulette, seeing which bill we're not going to pay so we can eat that month, and water pipes freezing because we couldn't keep, everything moving. And we were like kind of briefly homeless for a little bit. And, I joined the Marine Corps, $20 in my pocket. I wasted like 7 of that on a sandwich at the airport, my last meal before boot camp. But yeah, and at the end of boot camp, they opened up, when you get your personal effects back that you came there with. I had already forgotten like what I even had because my mind was just like blown by all this Marine Corps stuff. But the drill instructor looked in there and he saw, my dirty white t-shirt, which you can't wear in the Marine Corps. And then my jeans with holes in them, which you can't wear in the Marine Corps. And then I had shoes that were like, 50% duct tape by weight. So, I had to go to the PX in my uniform, like fresh off the parade deck to go get clothes I could wear, as a normal human on leave. But, all I knew was how to save up money, and even as like a private in boot camp, just seeing that money after I got out of boot camp, that was more money than I'd ever seen in one place in my life. And that's 3 months of private pay right there. So, but yeah, the master sergeant, he sent me up to the major who he gave me a Barney style talk on, just the basic stuff. Obviously I knew how to budget and save because that's all I knew was just don't spend all your money and throw it in the bank. And that's why I had all that money just sitting in savings, losing out to inflation. But, he ran me over the basics of like Roth IRA and how to do your TSP and how mutual funds work, just like the really basic stuff. And he managed to get it in my head. And I started way back as a young corporal right before the 2008 crash. So that was certainly fun. I lost like 30% of everything I invested in a day. But, luckily for me, the major, he told me like, hey, don't think of the long game. Don't pull out when the market's down or you're just guaranteeing a loss. And if you can think like, okay, 3 months of private pay is a ton of money to me at the time. And then you see like you lose 30% of your life's money in one day. It was just like a gut check. And I was just like freaking out in my barracks room, just staring at this number. And it was frightening. But, I just like, you know what? I'm just going to stay in. He said, the major said, do it. So it must be right. And, it worked out a couple of years later. I had made all the money back and, then some. But, people saw, I had investment stuff up on my computer and all that. And they started asking me questions. And I was just kind of regurgitating what the major told me, just the basic stuff. And so people started, thinking of me as like the money guy. Everybody wants to go invest, and it's the cool, sexy thing to do when you have extra money. And so they started asking me all these questions. And so they started asking me stuff beyond the basics of what I learned. So my fellow Marines kind of forced me into learning more because you don't want to be the dummy that, doesn't know the answer. So, I just started researching a lot and, obviously you got to know where your money's going anyway. So, I had to learn all these things. And as I picked up rank, I started forcing people to listen to me, training days or hip pocket classes or whatever, just kind of bust out the basics, ask these kids, do you know how to read an LES? Do you ever look at your LES? When's the last time you looked? Are you budgeting? Are you saving? Are you investing? all these things. And just trying to make sure that nobody I knew ends up out there on the corner with a cardboard sign, because that's always the worst.
True. That's good. That's a great story. And yes, I can definitely identify being a simple conservative Midwestern who, is just doing their best to pay the monthly bills month to month. Right.
Yeah.
And how, that huge moment of that first military paycheck coming in on the 1st or 15th, whatever, and just being like, wow, this is cool. And this is going to continue to come in. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, like this is like a great feeling, and also boost your confidence to be the best service member of whatever respected branches you're in. Right. So it's just huge. What I love most about what you're saying, though, is that I think a lot of service members, when they're inside of the uniform, they don't properly prepare themselves for a transition. Right. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the same with my story. When I got out in 2012, I was a corporal on the promotion board of becoming a sergeant. They promised me the world, and they were just like, you're going to fail. If you don't got any savings saved up, you're going to fail. And it's
Yep.
just that fear that's instilled into you when you're about to get out. And they're right. I mean, I didn't have any financial literacy. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And all I knew is I wanted to kind of get out and try my own individual stuff. Right. So I love that point. So let's dive into that more. Right. How do we, get ahead of some of those landmines, right? If we're thinking about getting out and having like somewhat of a safety net, getting out of the uniform, like what are some of the landmines we hit mindset wise, and how do we get ahead of those?
Yeah, I mean, that is the $1 million question. A lot of folks, we have, I think they call it TRS now, and people just think it's just some dumb mandatory class. But I mean, there's a lot of really good information in there. They had the Department of Labor there. They were giving us a lot of resume tips and all that. And I would say just pay attention. It's not there because the government wants to pay some civilians a bunch of money to just say words at you. There's a lot of good information there. I mean, the stuff there was directly impacted me being hired, is how to put a resume together and all that. As far as finances go, I mean, if you're planning on getting out, you need to have like a transition fund saved up so you don't have to take that first job just to pay the bills. People, when they're getting out, they just think freedom. I'm going to get to do whatever I want. Nobody can tell me what I've got to do. I'm going to grow a beard. I'm going to grow a mohawk. I'm going to, do all these crazy things. That's not going to make sure you can eat and afford medication in retirement, though. You can be crazy all you want, but you better have your backup plan, your safety net in place. So, I mean, get your transition fund put together, save money, maybe invest it, somewhat conservatively, perhaps. Depends on your risk tolerance and all that and your plans. I mean, everybody's different, but have that transition plan so you don't have to take the first crappy job. You don't have to end up working at Taco Bell. You may think you've got a job with your uncle at the sheriff's department and then it falls through. Well, now what's your plan? Have a plan B, have a plan C. Give yourself that comfortable space to move and think calmly, about your next move. I mean, that's super huge, just transitioning out, have the transition fund, and leverage the discipline you get in the Marine Corps, especially, but the other services to a lesser extent, that discipline that, you can really leverage that and save your money, be responsible, don't use all your money, live on less than you earn, but still have fun. I drank a ton in Okie as a young Marine, that's just what we do out there. And I kept a limit, I was like, look, $50 a weekend, that's it. Then I'm done. Still got money to get a haircut. I don't have to go beg for $5 to go get a haircut. I kept my hobbies to like $200 a month, nothing crazy. I got into diving out there, kind of an expensive hobby, but you have to budget. Think about everything in dollars and cents, and don't go to the PX and buy a flat screen your first thing. If you're stateside, don't go out and buy that Mustang. There's a reason it is a trope and a stereotype. Of those Marines getting the Mustang or getting the Challenger at 29% APR, officers aren't immune. There's a reason there's a Jag dealership right outside of Miramar. They know what they're doing. They know how to get that money. So don't let them prey on you, and don't set yourself up for that kind of mindset of like, oh, the money's always going to come in, so I'm just going to spend it. I mean, shoot, they just had a promotion board for gunnies in the Marine Corps, and a lot of people got passed over. So, you're looking at people who they were planning to do 20. They were in kind of before the new BRS system was available. And so now they're looking at, oh, shoot, I might not be able to make it to 20. And that means no retirement money for them. It's wild. So just be prepared.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's really good wisdom. And the funny thing is, when I was stationed in Pendleton, I was actually one of the ones that went on to one of those car lots and got screwed by the APR. I bought an Eclipse, thought it was cool, and then 3 months later, it wasn't even running.
Oh,
Like
no.
the motor blew up, and I was stuck with that. And so that does happen, right? So getting ahead of that, ambitious vet, making sure that you're making wise decisions from wise counsel. And I just think that you hit it on the head too, Lawrence, because even today, as we were talking about before we went on air, 20% increase in military suicides right now. And it's funny, I just posted something on our personal LinkedIn page the other day and just had some other industry leaders, subject matter experts comment on the cause of that. And they were saying job loss and financial struggles, right? Which is tough, which is super tough, right? And that's not only impacting obviously the veteran, but also their spouses, right? So
yeah,
walk us through, what separates like First Command from the cookie cutter approach, from other financial advisory firms, mentorship, financial planners, stuff like that. What makes you guys different?
I mean, well, where to start? There's a lot of ways we're different, but huge thing is, we're fiduciaries, which means we're legally and ethically bound to do what's in your best interests over our best interests. We're independent, so we're not only working with one company trying to shill their products. We shop around, which is very important, especially in the military, because maybe some companies don't want to work with pilots, and other companies will, or some will give them better rates. So it's extremely important to remain independent. And then you're getting a lifelong kind of thing. Like, I mean, yeah, if I'm working with a young Marine or soldier or somebody, they're probably going to outlive me, but somebody else at First Command will take over, pick up that baton and keep running with them. But I mean, it's not just a, one and done kind of thing. We make the plan with you, help you stick to it, change it when life attacks and something crazy happens, and just keep up with you the whole way. We're all over, outside of, I mean, I think we've got like over 170 some locations, and we're expanding. We're in, some other countries as well. So pretty much wherever you're going to PCS, we've got somebody who can take over. So, if I got a couple folks that are PCS, and so now I contact one of our guys where they're going and just give them a good handoff, all the information, contact information, make sure there's positive contact so the ball doesn't get dropped. I mean, it's a lot more personal stuff. And we do a lot of fun events with our folks too, just to kind of keep them engaged, keep them thinking about their finances, but also have fun. We're out at Poway a few weeks ago shooting some guns with some of our folks. And I mean, who doesn't want to shoot guns? We got a golf tournament coming up. Sometimes we cruise around the bay. Hopefully once the COVID stuff's over, we can get back to brewery tours, but you know how it is. And especially now Zoom, we're on Zoom right now, and we've had to move into that space just because, safety.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's a fun culture. I mean, even when I was out in San Diego with y'all, you guys have a fun culture, always putting on some great events. And also just the educational workshops that you guys consistently provide to educate our service members, mil spouses,
Absolutely.
and stuff like that. Not only that, but top 5 military friendly brands of 2020. I mean, how long has that been going on?
That's a good question. I mean,
It's been going, hasn't it?
We're always trying to get higher, on that list. I mean, we're doing volunteer events with military causes and stuff. I mean, hiring. I mean, 80% of our advisor force is either military or the spouse of active or former military folks. So we are keenly aware of the whole military situation. You know, we're kind of very keyed into how military finance works and the pitfalls that you're going to find and the ways that you can leverage what's available to you to move forward, you know, in the best way you can. And I mean, shoot, I go, you can probably already tell I ramble a lot. I go way over time on my meetings, just chatting with folks. You know, if I find out, like I was talking to a lieutenant last night, headed to Okinawa. So I'm like, okay, you got to stop here, 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 you know, Cocos, every Okie Marine knows Cocos, got to go there, you know, go diving, go to this beach, all that stuff. You know, it's not just finance, you know, we have a good time chatting up with folks and kind of engaging over shared experiences we've had, bases we've been to, so on and so forth.
No, that's great. I mean, Coco's was the best curry in the world. I remember that. Like I was just like, every time I went, I was trying to increase my level of spiciness. But funny thing is I never got past 2, man. I just couldn't handle it.
I stopped at 4, you know, and oh my God. So they have it in LA now. So I go up there sometimes because it's worth the drive.
Oh man, that's a heavy hitter, man. That's awesome. That's great. So also, I mean, the company was founded by a lieutenant colonel as well back in the 50s. So you guys have been really the pioneers for this, for service members, you know, military spouses, stuff like that. I mean, it's just been great. You guys are like the grand old men of the financial world for the military, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, he identified a need, you know, there was nobody teaching these folks about finance, and he's seeing people, you know, somebody perishes in an accident, a flight accident or something, and now their family's left behind. What we don't want is for them to be like, okay, now what are we going to do? You know, we like to plan for that when we're calm. And that's another thing, you know, we do free financial plans for active duty service members and their immediate families. And I mean, that's something that costs a lot of money elsewhere, but that's why we're one of the military friendly companies, because they need it. You know, we need a plan. Nobody goes into, you know, nobody sets up an exercise or an operation without a lot of planning, and your life should not be any different.
That's great. So go ahead and walk us through that process. Like supporting veterans or families from day one, what does that planning process look like in securing a better financial future?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's kind of a long process because it's not really, we're not trying to get you in, buy something and get you out so we can get to the next guy. I mean, there's going to be a lot of meetings. First one, you know, we just get to know you. We're not even talking about necessarily what you're going to need or anything. We're trying to figure out what you need by learning about your life. So, I mean, I'm asking, okay, you know, I got some folks, they got 4 dogs. So I'm like, okay, you know, now you're looking at a house with a bigger yard. You know, how are we're going to get to that? You know, every little detail that probably doesn't really matter to somebody at like a big firm actually does matter. And the devil's in the details. So the first meeting, I'm just gathering details. We also kind of just see if we mesh personality wise. Because I mean, hey, if you don't like me, I can probably find somebody who's cooler, but you know, it is what it is. You know, sometimes people want to find somebody that was in their same service or something like that. But yeah, gather information on the first meeting. And then, you know, after that, gather actual like financial documents and stuff. So we have the hard data to work with and put in our system to spit us out a good plan. But then the next one is really a lot of education. I mean, it's very informative, somewhat dry, but I try to make it fun. But it's a lot of information, stuff that nobody's telling anybody. And that's part of the reason the Marine Corps and other services as well are not known for their financial prowess, because people are growing up, you know, and achieving more ranks, and they don't know about finance. And so they can't teach their juniors about finance. So like and then they grow up and they can't teach their juniors, and we're going through generations of service members not knowing anything. And that's like, I kind of go in a little deeper when I get somebody who's like of a more senior rank. I kind of hit the education piece a lot more because I want them to understand it well enough so that they can talk to all their people. Because I can't reach everybody, but they can reach a lot more people over the course of their 20 years or however many years they're doing. I can only have reached the people I reached, and I still try to reach more today. But yeah, it is what it is. And then, so we gather that information, we provide the education piece, because it's important to know where your money's going, and really important that I answer everybody's questions. Because if you don't know where your money's going, you're not confident about it, you know, did I really help you at all? Or are you just on autopilot? You know, it's not really as helpful as long as if I don't educate you enough. But yeah, so after that, then we have a third meeting, and that's where in between the second and third, you know, we've consulted with layers upon layers of professionals. You know, any plan I do, it goes to Jason, and then it goes to another group of people who don't even know me. And then they look over it and they tell me, no, fix this or whatever, making sure it's the best possible thing, making sure that there's nothing I missed, no angle I didn't look at. And then it gets approved. And then we come back and, you know, I talk with those folks and I'm like, okay, you know, this is the best way moving forward. What do you think about this? How do you feel about it? Are you comfortable with it? So on and so forth. And really just back and forth plan with them. And then after that process, check in a couple months, make sure things are still going well, and do that a few times. And maybe like 1 year in, then we start going to every 6 months. And then a few years later, we go to every year. Always every year, checking in on people, making sure things are still going, because everything changes. You move somewhere, different BAH, or you get out, you know, now you have your second job, you're getting paid a lot more. You know, it's a lifelong process really, but the initial process is not quick either.
Yeah, I got it. What I love most about it, it's unique to their needs and wants, right? It's tailored approach. It's not just, hey, here's a financial plan. This is how much you need to invest to be at this level, you know, 20 years from now, whatever. It's really,
Exactly.
what do they want? How do we find out the habitual habits, which I know me and Jason have talked about multiple times, which is what I love about your guys' brand, is it's tailoring it towards the military community, which is, like you said, discipline, right? Shaping our behaviors towards what we want. And all it takes is that aha moment from like a mentor like you, right?
Yeah.
So walk us through kind of the mentor offerings that you are providing and the free advice that you'd like to provide the Ambitious Vet Network.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot about advice. I guess maybe I didn't understand the question. You kind of worded it too smart for me, you know.
Oh, well, all right, man. No worries.
Got some
Still
crayons for me, man.
Oh man, I'm bringing out the orange one right now, brother. Trust me. So I get it. So yeah, man. I mean, one thing that we talked about offline is you providing some free mentorship offering to any ambitious vet that may be like, hey man, you know what? I'm having some financial struggles right now, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
or a mill spouse that's listening to this right now and be like, you know what? I'm looking for my next career. You know, what does that actually look like?
I mean, I'll meet with them. I meet folks a lot of times after hours just because people are busy during the day. But I'll meet with folks, and really it's just about, I can't really give blanket mentorship right now because everybody's situation is different, but
yeah,
find out what's going on with them and what their situation is, because there's a way out. There's a way forward. You know, you're not gonna, veterans tend to have kind of like really big dreams, big goals, because, you know, we've kind of overcome a lot. So you're not going to get to your big goals without big plans and, you know, doing things. You can't just sit around and it's just going to happen. You know, nobody accidentally starts a company. Nobody accidentally, you know, does anything like that. So it's, I don't know, just personal, talking to folks, find out what they want and kind of where they're at and how we can kind of bridge that gap And that's the best way moving forward, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. So what I'm hearing is either email you, give you a call, something like that. So
Certainly.
Yeah.
So, email, text, call. It's all, I've always got my phone just like everybody else, you know. If I don't answer you, I'm probably sleeping or in a meeting, but I'll get back to you that day.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. So Ambitious Vet, we're going to actually have all that information in the show notes below. Lawrence's email and direct phone number. Are you okay with us putting that phone number in the show notes so they can contact you, Lawrence?
Oh, yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, I almost always have my phone in my hand unless, you know, I'm typing or whatever, but it's like everybody else, you know how it is, forefront my phone. So I'll answer anything. If it's blowing up, that's great, because that's just more people that I'm helping out, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I love your heart. I love your guys' mission. I love the sign that's behind Jason right now. It says, get your financial life squared away, Ambitious Vet. You know, we spend a lot of time in the military getting ourselves squared away, our physical fitness, you know, our knowledge base and stuff like that. But it's time to get us squared away financially. And First Command is the way to do that. So make sure you're reaching out to Lawrence.
Yeah, and his other sign, we hire leaders. You know, we don't accidentally have 80% of a military affiliated workforce, you know. So if you're interested in personal finance as a career, call me. You know, it's the best way to learn about any career is call somebody who's doing it and find out what it's like, and do you want to go that route? How to do it the best way.
That's great. Couldn't have said it any better, man. You just brought the blue crayon. I love it.
Hey, you got to have those opposing colors.
Yeah, man. Well, Lawrence, I just appreciate you dropping inside the trenches and bringing us some financial education that's well needed during these times within our community. Thanks for joining the show, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Kansas City barbecue is better than St. Louis, by the way.
Oh, man, you had to end it with that.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.